भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् परमानन्दमाधवम्. Okay, let's read the verses we covered last time. We'll read from verse number 10. Mayadhyakshena prakritihi सूयते सचराचरं हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय जगद्विपरिवर्तते अवजानन्ति मां मूढाः मानुषीं तनुमाश्रितं परं भावमजानन्तः मम भूतमहेश्वरम् मोघाशामोघकर्माणः मोघज्ञानाविचेतसः राक्षसीमासुरीं चैव प्रकृतिं मोहिनीं श्रिताः. Okay, so last time we saw that how exactly does this world come about? Bhagwan Shri Krishna says in verse number 10, Maya adhyakshena, by me as her supervisor, this prakriti, this Maya, suyate sacharacharam, delivers or gives rise to the movable and immovable. And by this, the whole world comes about. So this is to tell us that the whole world doesn't come about just like that. It's not that some explosion happened and particles came out and space and time happened and all this energy now is moving. It didn't just happen like that. It happened in the light of consciousness. It happened in the awareness of consciousness. It happened because of consciousness. When Bhagavan says Maya adhyakshena, means with me as consciousness, as me consciousness, the substratum, this whole world has come about through the power of Maya. So when we keep inquiring into the world, that is one way to realize who we are, because when we keep inquiring into the world, we realize that the origin of the world cannot be matter. It cannot be jada vastu. For the simple reason that that inert atom or particle cannot see, hear, smell, taste, think, feel. But I can see, hear, smell, taste, think, feel. So therefore, that which doesn't see or hear or smell or taste or think or feel, how can that create something like me? Therefore, the origin of this world has to be some type of consciousness. And then when we look at ourselves, what is the origin of us as an individual? And if we trace it back, again, we will come to consciousness. So in this way, Bhagwan is trying to point us to the source again and again and again, saying, in my presence, this whole world comes to life. But he said in verse number 11, there are fools who do not know me, because when they see me in this body, they're seeing Bhagavan Krishna speaking to Arjuna. When they see me in this body, they think I am limited to this form. They don't know my supreme nature, who is the Lord of all beings. So people who limit Bhagavan to a form, we saw they create all kinds of differences. There's a difference that my Bhagavan is better than yours, or Bhagavan is only in that murti but not in other people, not in everybody, or Bhagavan is only in that murti but not in the entire world. So this is a very limited kind of thinking. And this also comes to reflect in the way that people live their lives. Because they feel that Bhagavan is somewhere out there, something to gain. Because of that delusion that there could be happiness outside, then they engage in all kinds of things, which we see in number 12. Moghasha, false hopes. That I can gain a false hope means to hope for something that's not there. I can gain happiness outside in this world by doing something, by going somewhere, by desiring something. I can gain happiness. So these are all false hopes. And these false hopes lead us to vain actions, moga karma. The whole time we are spending in trying to gain joy from the outside world where it is not. So we sweat and we toil and we run around and around and around. And in order to gain that karma, in order to gain that object, whatever it is we want to gain, we need knowledge. We need knowledge of how to have lots of money, how to become very intelligent, how to have so many degrees, how to have a great, great social life. We need all of this knowledge. All of that knowledge is called moga jnana, false knowledge, because it is the knowledge of the false. It's simply words, it's simply letters, it's simply statements. It's not really anything concrete. And who are these people? Vichetasaha, senseless. They're not thinking. There's no chetas, there's no thought. People are just doing things. Sometimes we move in life like robots. Do you ever feel that way when we just get up and just keep going and going and going? We don't even know why we're doing all of these things. We just keep going. So without thinking, people are living. And living, going around in circles. And worse is Rakshasim Asurim Chaiva. Means they also become like Rakshasas and Asuras. We become like that. Because of all of our stress and tiredness, we tend to trouble others. We cause so much disturbance to other people's lives because we're so frustrated. We're not getting what we want. We're not getting what we long for. And we drive everyone crazy. Now Sri Krishna says, Arjuna, you are not this kind of person. And that's why I did not use your name in this verse. You are Partha. And this is how all of us should be. So actually, if we look at verses 12 and 13, the journey of spiritual life is captured in these two verses very beautifully by Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So let us see verse number 13. Mahatmanastu mam partha
Mahatmanastu mam partha
daivim prakritim ashritaha
दैवीं प्रकृतिमाश्रिताः
भजन्त्यनन्यमनसः
भजन्त्यनन्यमनसः
ज्ञात्वा भूतादिमव्ययम्
ज्ञात्वा भूतादिमव्ययम्
महात्मानस्तु मां पार्थ दैवीं प्रकृतिमाश्रिताः भजन्त्यनन्यमनसः ज्ञात्वा भूतादिमव्ययम्. So he says, but Mahatmas, those who have a large heart. Atma here means heart. Those have a large heart too. But these Mahatmas, in contrast to who is in verse number 12, O Partha, Mam, they ashritaha, they take refuge in me by Devim Prakritim, by that divine nature. And bhajanti ananya manasaha, bhajanti, they worship me, ananya manasaha, with a mind devoted to nothing else. Nyatva, knowing, bhuta adim avyayam, knowing me to be the source, adi, the source of bhuta, of all beings, which is avyayam, which is imperishable. So it means that, but the Mahatmas, O Partha, partaking of my divine nature, worship me with a single mind, devoted to nothing else, knowing me as the imperishable source of all beings. Now we're going to juxtapose verse 12 with verse 13. So verse 12 said that this person is vichetasaha, doesn't think. But here in verse 13, he says this person is Partha. And who is Partha? Partha is Parameshwaraha Arthaha Yasya Saha, the one who has the Lord as his wealth. This is called Partha. So from Vichetasaha we come to Partha, the one who has a Lord as his source of wealth. These people feel that if the greatest wealth in life is to have Bhagwan by my side, to have Bhagwan in my heart, in my thoughts, in my actions. That being is called Partha. And instead of mogasha, false hopes, what does this person have? Bhajanti ananya manasaha. They are seeking that divinity, that Bhagwan, without anything else, without any otherness. See, sometimes when we try to do something, we multitask a lot, right? So let us say if we're eating, maybe we tend to read something, check the phone, look at the iPad, doing so many things. So that is anya chetasaha, when we're trying to do so many things. Ananya chetasaha means when we're doing one thing, just stick to that. When we're eating, just stick to that. When we're reading, just stick to that. Don't stick to anything else, just stick to that. And this helps us then later on to focus on that reality in all beings. See, somebody might ask, how am I supposed to keep my mind on Bhagwan always? This is the question that people always ask. You say, Ananya Chetasaha, seek me without any otherness, seek me without any other thought. How am I supposed to do that? Realistically, Bhagwan, I have so much work to do. So how am I going to do that? So here it says that this is only possible if we have the vision that Bhagwan is in everything. It is only possible if we have the vision that Bhagwan is in everything. So Bhagwan is in my work. My work is for Bhagwan. Bhagwan is in my food. So let me eat carefully because that is Bhagwan. Bhagwan is in the person that I'm speaking to. So let me be alert when I'm listening to this person, because this person is Bhagwan. So ananya manasaha. Ananya manasaha means I cannot lift my mind from Bhagwan, because Bhagwan is everything. So it doesn't matter if my thought goes from work to my family to nature to this to that. It doesn't matter, because everything is really Bhagwan. So instead of seeking false hopes out in the world, this person is seeking Bhagwan and trying to see Bhagwan in everything. Bhajanti ananya manasaha. So I can always be in Bhagwan. And instead of mogha karma, instead of false action, meaning vain actions, actions that don't do any good to us, actions that only deepen our negative vasanas, here it says, Daivim prakritim ashritaha, that this being is rooted in good values, good virtues, what we call Devi Sampat. And this comes in chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita. So because when we do selfless service, all the good qualities come to us. When we see Bhagavan everywhere, in every being, all good qualities come to us. When we worship Bhagavan, because Bhagavan is the origin of all divine qualities, all purity, glory, wisdom, creativity, dispassion. Bhagavan is a source of all that. So when we worship Bhagavan, automatically what comes to us is Devi Sampat. Devi Sampat. All these beautiful, beautiful qualities come. And when we worship Bhagavan, all the devatas become pleased. All the devatas become pleased and they say, let me come to stay in this bhakta. So Surya Devata, the deity of the eyes, says, let me stay in this bhakta and help them see clearly. Indra Devata, who's the deity of the arm, says, let me be in the hands, let my potential come in this bhakta so they can serve even more. Vishnuji, who is the devata of the legs, says, let me come to this bhakta's feet so that I can give power to help them walk to Bhagavan. Agni Devata comes to this bhakta and says, let me come in this bhakta's speech so that they can have the power to speak of Bhagavan. So when we worship Bhagavan, not only the good virtues and values come to us, but all the devatas start to come and live in us. And that's why a bhakta resembles Bhagavan. A true bhakta resembles Bhagavan. And Bhagavan keeps their bhakta so high. Who is Sri Krishna meditating on? He's meditating on his bhaktas. Who is Sri Rama meditating on? Hanumanji. So, Devim Prakritim Ashritaha. And then, instead of false knowledge, is knowledge about how to become richer, how to become more intelligent, how to become famous, how to do this, how to do that. Instead of that kind of knowledge which makes us extrovert, here, Nyatva Bhutadim Avyayam. This one has knowledge of the source of all beings. This is true knowledge. True knowledge. And because one now understands the source of all beings, one becomes a Mahatma. One doesn't become an Asura or a Rakshasa. One becomes a Mahatma. And who is a Mahatma? The one whose heart is so expansive and large that they believe and they realize Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Everybody is my family. The world is one family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So let us juxtapose, right? So from vichetasaha, one who doesn't think, one should become Partha, for whom Bhagwan is wealth. Instead of moga asha, having false hopes that there's happiness in the world outside, one seeks Bhagwan, bhajanti ananya manasaha. Instead of false, vain actions, useless actions, going out into the world pursuing joy, one takes to selfless actions and develops Daivi Prakriti. And instead of having false knowledge or useless knowledge, one has the knowledge of the source of all beings. And instead of becoming a Rakshasa or an Asura, one becomes a Mahatma. And that Mahatma blesses the world. And so, you see, in our Sanatana Dharma, this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is so embedded that Sanatana Dharma always has this spirit of accommodation. If you even think of the Mahakumbha Mela, right? How do you accommodate 400 million people? In so many different personalities, so many backgrounds, so many sampradayas, so many different systems, so many knowledge systems and traditions, all are accommodated in one big area. Why? Because that is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So these verses 12 and 13 is the whole of spiritual life. If we can practice verse number 13, that's where we have to reach, to wherein we are able to accommodate everyone as our family in whatever way we can, knowing that this person is me. This person is me. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Right? Now, how do people become like this? So verse 13 tells me the lifestyle I want to live. I want to become like this. But Sri Krishna, can you give me practical tips? So Bhagavan says, yes, I can give you very practical tips. And he says this in verse number 14. Satatam kirtayanto mam
Satatam kirtayanto mam
yatantascha dridhavrataha
yadantascha dridhavrataha
namasyantascha mam bhaktya
namastantascha mam bhaktya
namasyantascha mam bhaktya
namasyantascha mam bhaktya
nityayukta upasate
nityayukta upasate
Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. So he says, Satatam kirtayantaha. Satatam, always kirtayantaha, glorifying mam, me. He says, always glorifying me. Yatantaha, striving, cha. Dridhavrataha, firm in vows. Dridhavrataha, firm in vows. Namasyantaha, prostrating, mam and cha, mam, and prostrating to me. Bhaktya, with devotion. Nityayuktaha, always steadfast. Upasate, who worships me. So always glorifying me, striving firm in vows, prostrating before me, and always steadfast, they worship me with devotion. So here, very beautifully, Sri Krishna gives now 3 different elements to how we can become great Mahatmas in the body, in the mind, and in the intellect. Huh? So first we will go in the order of the shloka, and then we will put everything together. Satatam kirtayantaha. So first is kirtanam. Kirtanam. Now everybody knows, I'm sure, or has been to a kirtana. Huh? So what is a kirtana? A kirtana is where we call out to Bhagwan. Where we call out to Bhagwan. Normally it's through singing. And this singing can only happen when we have listened to the glories of Bhagwan. So to do any kirtan, to do any singing or praising, stuti, first we have to listen, do some shravana. Listen to the glory of Bhagwan, stories, the charitra, know the forms of Bhagwan, know the different gunas of Bhagwan. So once we know all of this, then we can sing it. We can sing it or we can dance it. And this singing, a calling out to Bhagwan, is a call to Bhagwan in our hearts. So sometimes when we're at kirtan, people become very loud because they want everybody to hear their voice. Okay? Everybody should hear that I am singing. Everybody should hear that this is sung by me. This is my bhajan. Everybody should know that this is what I studied, what I learned. And people want to go loud and loud and louder as if to touch the sky. But we forget that where is Bhagwan after all? In our hearts. So he doesn't want loud Vani, he wants Madhura Vani. He wants a sweet voice. He doesn't necessarily need a loud audience, applause, this and that. He needs a sweet voice because where are we calling him? We're calling him in our hearts. He's there. And some people are also so conscious that they don't want to sing because what will people say if I sing? What will people think? He's there in our hearts. How can we be ashamed of him? Kirtan should be nirlaja. No shame in that kirtan. Huh? When we see our friend, our loved one, we go and give them a hug. Oh, so happy. Even if it's in front of so many people, we go and we hug them. Nirlaja, we don't have any shame. Whenever we're hungry, wherever we are, we just go and we pick something to eat. It can be the streets, we're walking somewhere, we just eat shamelessly. But with kirtan, it's so weird that we feel so self-conscious. That should be nirlaja. That should be without shame. So that kirtan without shame and calling to Bhagwan who is in our heart. And another thing is in our tradition, we don't have applause. We can clap, of course, while singing bhajans. That's very good. But we don't have this system of applause because when we're singing or dancing, we're singing or dancing for Bhagwan. So after that, there should be silence. It's not for other people. We're not singing to please other people. We're not dancing to please other people. If you see our traditional dances, they're all worshipping Bhagwan. Bhagwan, Devi. And all our bhajans, they're worshipping Bhagwan or Devi. So during the bhajan, it's okay to clap, it's okay to snap because we have to make music. Yes, that's great. But after, it is not for everybody else. It's for Bhagwan. So after is a silence. The silence. Where we can truly appreciate how that beautiful kirtan has taken us to silence. That's what it's supposed to take us to. Sound is always supposed to take us to silence and not to more sound. Sound is supposed to take us to silence. And when to do this kirtanam, he says, satatam. Satatam means always. Always means this bhajan, khate bhi ram kaho, pite bhi ram kaho. Whether I'm eating, whether I'm drinking, more importantly, whether I lose or win in life. In my good times, in my bad times, I should take the name of Ram. I should take the name of Devi. Huh? Both times, not only during good times, we're so happy with Bhagwan because everything is going our way. Even in tough times, take the name of Bhagwan. So Satatam means in all times, in adversity and also prosperity. And Satatam also means that even while waiting, take the name of Bhagwan. Huh? So in Balvihar, when they're lining up to go to their classes, we do a kirtan so that they take the name of Bhagwan while waiting for somebody, while, in between something, we have a break. Take the name of Bhagwan. Satatam. Let the name of Bhagwan be there because our Shruti should be the name of Bhagwan. It should not be C sharp or B flat. Our Shruti should be the name of Bhagwan. That's our rhythm. That's our inner rhythm. So Satatam Kirtayanta. Sing so much that it stays with you. That rhythm stays with you and doesn't leave. It becomes Satatam. Then he says, Yatantascha Dridavrataha. Striving. Be striving, firm in vows. This is very important. Now, what happens to us is our words have no weight. They are weightless. I had shared this also in our Bal Vihar Satsang on Saturday. That now you know why we have so much paperwork? Because nobody sticks to their word. Back in the day, if they said, 10 years, I will pay you in 10 years, finished. You knew you were going to be paid in 10 years. If somebody said, I will come, finished. No need RSVP, no need follow up, no need reminder, no need all of that. I will come means they will show up, they will come. I will do this means they will get it done. So there was so much satyata, truthfulness, that everybody stuck to their vow that everything was just based on pure words. We had no paperwork. But now what happens? We have this much paperwork. Whenever we want to get something, buy something, borrow something, so much paperwork because our words have become weightless. When our words don't hold water, when our words don't mean anything, they become very weak. We become weak. We become weak because we try to hold, it says striving, tanta. We try to hold our words, but when times get tough to hold on to the word, then we break it. And we break it, and we break it, and we compromise. Now, if we work this way, where we keep breaking our word, we will never be able to accomplish big things. In our Sanatana Dharma, there's a very beautiful saying that for a Shreyamsi, means for good, noble work, there's going to be many obstacles. Anytime someone undertakes good, noble work, know that it comes in a package. It's going to have many obstacles. So the person who keeps breaking their word, breaking their vow, who keeps getting weak in the face of all trials and tests, they will never be able to accomplish anything good, anything great. But for the person who is able to keep that vow, whatever it is, keep that vow, then they're able to handle so many things because no matter what, they hold on to what they say. Otherwise, best don't say. Don't say. So, drida vrataha. And our great Mahatmas, they had such firm satyata in their words that they became Satya Sankalpa. That whatever they said, it would manifest. Like Puja Gurudev. Huh? Whatever he said, you know it would happen because he has that power of Satyata. So, Drida Vrata. Then, Namasyantaha cha. The one who does Namaskaraha. Now, what is Namaskaraha? Namaskaraha is an act of prostration. It is a very, very beautiful act because in Sanatana Dharma, we have to understand that every outer ritual generates an inner samskara. Every outer ritual, every outer thing we do, it kindles an impression within. So when we light a lamp, inside it's kindling knowledge. When we do pradakshina or arti, it's kindling that, let me stay centered in that reality. It kindles everything. For us also, when we put a plate on the table, it's kindling hunger, isn't it? Right? So in Namaskaraha, when we prostrate, when we bow down, our head, where we have that notion of I think I am the doer. Our head and our heart, both of these, where we have strong notions of I, they bow down. So we get the impression that, hey, in life, I have to get used to bowing down. I have to get used to surrendering my ego. I have to get used to accepting that sometimes I can be wrong. Sometimes I have weaknesses, and there are things in me that can be made better. And I have to accept that. I have to acknowledge that. And I have to learn how to surrender to that which can lift me up. And that's why we do namaskar, to cultivate and to kindle this bhava within us. We also do namaskaraha to kindle the bhava of na mama. Yeah, na mama means not mine. Nothing is mine. So whenever people have, before people speak or before people have a performance or before people do something, that something auspicious, they will first bow down to say na mama. Let it not be me who shines through. Let it not be me. Let it only be you. And that is also a ritual to remind ourselves of that. Remind ourselves of that. Like Vibhuti is a ritual to remind ourselves this is ash, finished. So the ones who do this, bhaktya, means with devotion, with that bhava, with that sincerity. It might be difficult in the beginning, but at least if somebody is trying and sincere, it will turn into devotion. The one who is steadfast, who's doing it, steadfast, worships me. This is how one becomes a Mahatma. And if we see in this phrase or in this shloka, BMI is covered. At the body level, namaskaraha. At the mind level, kirtana, singing the glories of Bhagwan, having that bhakti. And at the intellectual level, being able to stick to what I say. If we practice these three things, then it keeps us steady, keeps us steadfast on that path. Furthermore, I want to read what Gurudev has said here very beautifully in this verse. I'll just read. He says, the path of knowledge knows no flower throwing or chandana sprinkling or laddu showing methods of ritualistic worship. To keep in the mind an alert and vigilant flow of thoughts in our adoration for the nature of the self as the substratum of the entire universe and the essence in all beings, is the truest of worships that can open up the buds of our egocentric lives into blossoms of God-men, wafting their fragrance of perfection around. So here also, Gurudev says, a deeper meaning is to see that reality in all. Not just limited to physical things, but seeing that reality in all. Now, the question comes, okay, what is there any other way? Is there any other way to seek this reality? So Sri Krishna says, yes, let me tell you. Jnana yajnena chapyanye
ज्ञानयज्ञेन चाप्यन्ये
yajanto mamupasate
यजन्तो मामुपासते
ekatvena pritaktvena
एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन
bahudha vishvato mukham.
बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम्
ज्ञानयज्ञेन चाप्यन्ये यजन्तो मामुपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा vishvato mukham. So he says here, jnana yajnena, with the wisdom sacrifice or knowledge sacrifice, cha, and api, also. So anye, others also, they worship with a wisdom sacrifice. Yajantaha means they worship, worshipping, sacrificing this way. Who do they worship? Mam, me, upasate, they worship. How? Ekatvena, as one, pritakttvena, as distinct, bahudha, in various ways, vishvato mukham, the all-pervasive, all-facing reality. Others also, offering the wisdom sacrifice, worship me in various ways, regarding me as the one, as distinct, as the manifold me, who in all forms face up everywhere. So here, jnana yajna means literally the fire sacrifice. Fire sacrifice, but what fire sacrifice? That of knowledge, because yajna actually means fire sacrifice, traditionally. So yajna means traditionally fire sacrifice, but here it is jnana yajna. So it is a sacrifice of knowledge. You see, in the olden days, when they used to do yaga, they used to invoke Agni Devata and offer everything to Agni Devata. Now, when we invoke knowledge, jnana yajna, how do we do it? We do it through offering our ignorance. So you can think of this way. There is a fire. Just an example to make us understand. And what are we offering to that fire? We're not offering any samagri, any substance to the fire. What we're offering to the fire is ignorance. And what is ignorance? Ignorance is our attachment, our identification with the name and form. Anything we put into fire, it becomes ash. Anything. You put anything in the fire, it's not partial. No matter how dear that object is to you or how not dear the object is to you, you put it in fire and it'll become ash. So the ignorance here is that I am offering my attachment, my identification to this name and form, to all names and forms, into knowledge. Let that knowledge reduce it to ash. Let that knowledge reduce it to ash and let me know that only pure consciousness remains. So that fire represents the knowledge which reduces everything to ash, and that fire, after reducing everything to ash, it remains as is. So when that knowledge removes ignorance, Brahman remains as is. So this is Jnana Yajna. Very, very beautiful meaning. And so Puja Gurudev, we saw this also in chapter 4, when he started coming and sharing discourses of the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, he called it Jnana Yajna. Jnana Yajna. Then he says, those who worship me, yeah, they sacrifice, they worship me in 3 ways. Ekatvena, as one. So through knowledge, one sees that that same Paramatma in Bhagwan is in me. In essence, we are one. Soham, I am that. I am that reality. We're not different. From one standpoint, because of the individual body, mind, intellect, I take this to be Jiva. And because of the total body, mind, intellect, I take Bhagavan to be Ishvara. But if we remove the body, mind, intellect, then only Chaitanya remains, only Chit remains, only pure being remains. So the one who understands that I and Bhagavan are one. Ekatvena. Pritatvena. Some people worship Bhagavan as apart from them, distinct from them. They still keep this notion of duality. And they want to worship Bhagavan as something other. So the bhava there is not soham. The bhava there is dasoham. I am your servant. Bhagavanji, Hanumanji, very, very beautifully, he knew that he and Sri Rama were one, but he said at the level of the body, Dasoham, I am your servant. So when we worship Bhagavan as the servant, how do we do it? Similar things we spoke about by dedicating everything to Bhagavan. That Bhagavan, this everything is for you. Then he says, Bahudha Vishwato Mukham, means there are people who, at the highest level, they see me in all beings. So it's not only that they see me in themselves, but they see me in all beings, in all ways, in all facets. All they see is me because they know that there is nothing but me. So everything that we can possibly think of is Bhagwan. Everything we can see, hear, smell, taste, touch is Bhagwan. So there are people at the highest level who see everything as me. This is what we saw also as Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Everything is me. So he says, many people worship me in all of these ways. Now, Bhagavan Sri Krishna is going to say, I want to tell you how people worship me in many, many ways. How people worship me in many ways. So we're going to see now in the next few verses this vision of Vishvato Mukham. We'll see just a little bit of verse number 16 today, and then more we can take up later. We'll just see just a glimpse of it. Aham kraturaham yajnaha
Aham kraduraham yajnaha
swadhaham mahamaushadham
Swadaham aham aushadham
mantrohamahame
Mantrohamahame vajyam
aham agniraham hutam
Aham agniraham hutam
aham kraturaham yajnaha swadhaham mahamaushadham mantrohamahame vajyam aham agniraham hutam. So here he says, this is me. This is how people can see me in so many different ways. So first he starts from the Vedic way, because at that time this was very prominent. This was very much understandable to people. He says, Aham kratuhu, I am sacrifice. Aham yajnaha, I am sacrifice again. And I'll tell you the distinction between the two. Swadha, I am the offering to Pitras. I am food to the Pitras. Aham, I am Aushadham. I am medicinal herb and all plants. Mantraha, aham, I am mantra. Aham eva ajyam, I am also ghee. Aham agnihi, I am fire. And aham hutam, I am the offering. I am the kratu, I am the sacrifice, I am the offering to the pitras, I am the medicinal herb and all plants, I am mantra, I am also the clarified butter, I am the fire, I am the oblation. Here he says, sacrifice comes twice. Why? Because according to the Shruti, when we talk about sacrifice, according to the Shruti, Vedic, it is termed as kratuhu. But when we talk about it with regards to the Smriti, it is termed as yajna. So I am that sacrifice which is in the Shruti, and I am that sacrifice which is in the Smriti. How do we see Bhagwan in sacrifice? If we think about our lives, it is of sacrifice, not ours. But so many people sacrifice so many things to be where we are today, for us to be where we are today. Starting from space. Space, the sacrifice of space is it gives its accommodativeness. Endlessly, space will accommodate everything, everybody in all ways. Space will always sacrifice for our sake, give us accommodativeness. Vayu, air silently sacrificing. Air constantly is giving us pranas so that we can breathe. We can, all the different processes which require breath can be facilitated in our system. So Vayu is constantly sacrificing. Surya, the sun, is constantly sacrificing. It's heating up so much so that we get that light, we get that energy. The waters are constantly raining, falling, flowing. They're constantly sacrificing themselves so that we are provided with thirst, we are provided with things that we can take in. Earth is constantly sacrificing. Hari Om. Earth is constantly sacrificing. Earth is constantly sacrificing, meaning Bhumi Devi, she's constantly breaking herself open and open again and again so that different crops, different herbs, different plants can grow. So if we keep our minds in that sacrifice, and if we see the sacrifice of all of these, of space, of air, of fire, of water, of earth, if we see the sacrifice of all of these and think about what is behind that sacrifice, the glory behind that sacrifice, that is Bhagwan. If we think about the sacrifice of our parents, how our parents have done so much for us, right? Their sacrifice, their time, their effort, their strain, but most importantly, their life. What is beneath that sacrifice? Beneath that sacrifice is the glory of Bhagwan. Our teachers, our entire parampara, how much they have sacrificed, how much they have done to provide us with that knowledge. Beneath that sacrifice is their love for Bhagavan. So if we think about all sacrifice, Bhagavan says, see me, because in the glory of sacrifice is the glory of Bhagavan. Aham kratuhu, aham yajnaha. The rest of it we will take up next week. Okay? So just to summarize, today what we saw the juxtaposition of one who is vichetas, one who does not think at all, one who has false desires, false actions, false knowledge, becomes a Rakshasa. The juxtaposition or the opposite of that is somebody who is like Partha, who has Bhagwan for their wealth. And that person is able then to develop good values, good virtues, because they are seeking Bhagwan. And as a result, they have that knowledge of Bhagwan as a source of all beings. And as a result of that knowledge, they become Mahatmas, those who are able to embrace the world as their family, their own family. How can we become like Mahatmas? Sri Krishna provides 3 sadhanas. One at the body level, namaskaraha. At the mind level, kirtanaha. And at the intellectual level, dhrida vrataha. Have firm vows. Are there other ways to become like a Mahatma? Sri Krishna says, yes. Jnana yajna, through knowledge. How we can have that knowledge of seeing Bhagavan as our own self, ekatvena, pritatvena, or we can have that knowledge of being a servant of Bhagavan, seeing Bhagavan as our master and doing everything as an offering for Bhagavan. Or Vishwato Mukham, seeing Bhagavan as everything in so many, many ways, never leaving sight of Bhagavan because there's nothing else but Bhagavan. There's nothing else but Bhagavan, so how can we see other than Bhagavan? There's nothing else but Bhagavan, so how can we see other? And then Sri Krishna slowly goes into the verses wherein he tells us how he's seen in everything. And the first one we dealt with was sacrifice. That in every sacrifice you see Bhagavan. Okay? So more of these verses we'll take up next week. Very, very beautiful portion is coming now, where Bhagavan keeps showing us his glory so that our mind stays there. Say the closing prayer. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.